and welcome to Pastor's Perspective, sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. My name is Brian Perez, and we are here live on this Tuesday, the 26th of March, 2024. We'd love to chat with you from now till 4 p.m. Pacific time. Actually, we'd love to chat with you all day and all night long, but we have an hour, so let's do this. 888-564-6173. We've got all the lines available right now because we just unblocked them. 888-564-6173 is the number to call. And answering your questions today, we've got Brian Brodersen, the senior pastor of Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa in Southern California. You also hear Brian on the Back to Basics radio program. Bobby Conway joins us from Charlotte, North Carolina, where he pastors Image Church, and he's got a radio program too. It's called Christianity Still Makes Sense. That's also the name of his YouTube channel. And his book, which is coming out in just a few weeks, has a very similar title. It's Does Christianity Still Makes Sense? And Tony Clark is here as well. He's the pastor of Calvary Chapel, Newport News in Virginia, and he's on the radio program called The Word Made Plain, and he joins us online via Skype. Hello, gentlemen. Great to have you all here today.
Good to be with you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Great to be here.
Yep. Getting ready for Easter weekend, and
Yep.
yeah, got lots going on. Tony, what's going on over in Newport News?
You know, it's something we've done for a few years now, and we just stepped it up a little bit. Whereas on Good Friday, instead of the traditional Good Friday service, we have what is called the Good Friday Experience. And so this year, we're going to transform our campus into first century Jerusalem and just take people through each day of Holy Week. And so that's what's going on this year.
Man, that sounds like quite a task to transform your campus into first century Jerusalem.
Yeah, it is. It is. And they are hard at work and even supposed to get some animals. I don't know where all that is going, and I hope they're not going to be inside the building anywhere. But I just heard. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and the weather is supposed to cooperate. As you know, opposed to what I heard there, it's supposed to be 90% raining Saturday and Sunday there, but that's just so weird for me to hear California raining as much as it is.
Yep, we are praying against.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
storm that is trying to wreck everything that we're doing. But we do have a backup plan, and this basically puts a damper on our sunrise service potentially. Everything else is fine because everything else is inside. But so we're looking. Today we had a good conversation about what is Plan B for sunrise if need be. So we're not going to make a final decision until Thursday because weather. I mean, they can predict it.
Oh yeah.
By the end of the week, they could be saying it's going to be 90 degrees on Sunday, not 90% chance of rain. But the one thing I have to say is they have been pretty accurate lately because it's like you look at your little weather app and it says 40% chance of rain, and then it just pours, and you're like, wait, I thought it was 40% chance, not 99% chance.
Yes.
Yeah. But we have Good Friday. We have 2 services this year. So we're doing noontime, which is traditionally what we do. And yet we want to also recognize that some people can't get off at noon. So 7 o'clock on Friday evening, we'll be here as well with our Good Friday service. And then 6 a.m. We're going to do a 6 a.m. whether we do it outside or not. That's kind of what we decided,
Whether the weather cooperates.
Yeah, because I mean, on one level, it is a sunrise service, but nobody ever sees the sunrise. I mean, we know it comes up, but nobody's looking at it when it happens. So, but I think it's the early morning experience that people actually enjoy.
Yeah.
But people have become a bit. I don't know, like rain nowadays. It just seems like everybody's, I got to stay in the house. It's raining. It's like, what has happened to us? It's like, who cares? We got to get that, the mentality of the British, people who live in rainy cultures, it's just like you don't even think about it. You just do it.
Right.
This is what we have, So,
Yeah.
so anyway, then we have our regular Sunday morning services,
Yes.
8:30 and 11.
In case you can't make it out at 6. Yeah, there's 2 others at 8:30 and 11. Bobby Conway, what are you guys doing at Image?
Just a normal Easter service.
Just one.
Yeah, but we're gonna, yes, just one, and we don't have kind of our own facilities, so it makes it more difficult to do a lot of the extra stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll do a 10 a.m. service, and you guys are inspiring me. Maybe I'll jump on and do something video wise, explaining Palm Friday, maybe just for a little extra, for a bonus.
Yeah, it's called Good Friday.
I was going to say Good Friday, not Palm
It's
Friday.
Palm Sunday and Good Friday. Just
Wait. Yeah. You know what's crazy? Yeah. Oh, yes.
Did you do Palm
in
Sunday message last week?
He did Good Sunday.
No, I did Good Sunday. Like, I'm really twisted up. I wrapped up the book of 1 Corinthians, so I did 27 messages through that book.
Good for you.
Wrapped that up, and so that felt good. So
Great.
I'm impressed.
What about you,
Very
Tony?
impressed.
Did you preach on the triumphal entry?
Nah. No, I was.
Wow.
No, I was finishing up our theme for the year is in encountering God, and I was finishing up part 4 of Paul's encounter with God. So, but we sung a song, had the kids come in with the palm branches, little thing, and that was, parents love that, well, especially the moms. They love that little thing. So, but it was very lively, very upbeat. People enjoyed it, and so.
Yeah.
And I almost changed it. It to a Palm Sunday message, but I said, I got to do part 4.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I announced that it was Palm Sunday, gave everybody a little quick overview of what that's about.
You waved at them with your palm.
And then I finished up it was part 4 of our series on the triune nature of God. So I preached on the Trinity. That was my topic. Yeah. So
Yep. And he solved every question about the Trinity.
I answered all of the controversies from all of the ages. Yes.
Oh, 2nd century modalism.
Oh, yep. Modalism, subordinationism. We dealt with it all. Yeah.
You can check that out at cccm.com, the teaching tab. Click that and you'll be able to find the latest message there.
Hey, Bobby. So Brian says your book is it due to be released pretty quick? I wasn't sure what the time frame was on that.
Yeah, it comes out on April 23rd.
Oh, great.
Along with the small group curriculum with it. And so, I'm excited. It's been finished for, probably a year and a half. And so the book comes out, and Does Christianity Still Make Sense? The small group companion that I did with my son, a video, and it's got a study guide. And so even for moms and dads that want to talk through kind of, why Christianity makes sense, it's designed in that way where you got these little 10, 15-minute interviews where Dawson's interviewing his old man, and that he's given a perspective on Gen Zs. And so it can really provide a good opportunity for parents to have conversations with their kids as well about this stuff and get them equipped.
This is great. I mean, I didn't even know that. And then I said to you, hey, come to the conference in June and you and Dawson do something on Gen Z stuff. Wow. You guys already, and your book will be out. It'll be great.
We flew up to Chicago and did that at Tyndale and did that. So I'm really excited about that and I've been sharing that as I'm starting to do the radio interviews and stuff like that and go on podcasts. I'm pushing the book, but I'm also pushing for churches to consider going through the 6-week small group study, because I feel like I'm answering the biggest age-old questions and the biggest questions today confronting us. So in one book, they can get questions that are age-old, questions that are relevant, and yet a pathway forward for how to deal with doubters in our culture and make sense of Christianity. And I keep saying that is the apologetic question, in my opinion, of the day.
Yeah.
Every time somebody has doubts or they leave the faith, they're asking, does Christianity still make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to share my own story. And so it's a biographical apologetic where I share my own story, and there's about 30 chapters. They're very fast moving. Yeah.
Good. Well, I expect to get a copy in the mail soon.
Autographed.
I mean, usually
Yes.
you're like your best friends get, pre-release copies and stuff. I haven't seen anything.
No pressure, Bobby.
On my desk.
I haven't got my own copy yet.
Okay.
They just got them. So, but yes, I'll get you a copy for sure.
All right.
And the book is available for pre-order, I noticed, on Amazon. The easiest way to get there, I guess, is on Bobby's website, ChristianityStillMakesSense.com. Check that out. Click book, and you'll get the link to
Amazon. Amazon would probably be perfect. Yeah. I say Amazon or any major retailers. And it's also an Audible for those that like to hear it. I did the recording myself. So, I did it with...
just looking at the website and stuff and the design and all of that, I do have to say that I don't think there is a cooler apologist on the planet than Bobby Conway. Just look at this website. It's fantastic.
I was going to say something, but
Isn't that true, Tony? I mean, come on.
Hey, just got to give it to him. You just got to give it to him.
Yeah.
That's all to it.
He's got it, man. He's just a cool dude. And he's smart, too. So, yeah.
And here's my... I did this drawing that I'm going to do a video on to push the book.
Yeah.
And notice Jesus' hair. I made a question mark out of the left side of his head. It goes down into a question. And so we're going to do a video.
Can you move it to your right a little bit?
I just took...
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's more centered. So what is that?
Okay.
So that's the cover, but I just did my own rendition, and I created a surrealism piece with question marks all over the place. And so, yeah.
Okay.
That's fun. You'll see a video on that.
Yeah. Cool.
How fun. All right, ChristianityStillMakesSense.com is where you can go to pre-order the book. 888-564-6173 is the number to call us. You can also send us your questions on Facebook Messenger and on Instagram, or by filling out the form on the Pastor's Perspective page at our flagship radio station's website, kwave.com. But we prefer to talk to you, so let's start by talking to Julie in Murrieta, California. Thanks for calling Pastor's Perspective, Julie.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for taking my call.
You bet. Got a flat earth question, I see. Those are always fun.
Yes. I know. I've never believed in it, and then someone close to me just recently who's grown up, believes the Bible, actually, anyways, it's my stepdad, and I was floored last night when I'm like, you believe in that? And so now it's been a topic of conversation and text messages today on his scripture versus what we've looked up, and I just can't wrap my head around flat earth, so I was curious what you guys thought.
Has he always believed this way, or is he a new convert to it, would you say?
New, yeah. Said that he started researching it, and then he just, when you kind of go down the rabbit hole of looking into it, and then the scripture, I can't remember the scripture that he actually pulled from the Bible, but it was like, we are the center of the universe, and talking about it being like a disc, not a sphere. And then, I don't know, I talked to another friend of mine. She's a Chapman, a retired Chapman, and she reached out to her pastor, and he brought up scripture that talked about how we are, I have it. It was just, what did he say? Isaiah 40:22 mentions how God sits above the sphere of the earth. So,
yeah, there's a lot out there. Tony, we'll start with you. What do you tell Julie?
Yeah, that's one of the verses I was going to quote. Isaiah 40, verse 22 said, God sits upon the circle of the earth. Also in Proverbs 8:27, it says, when he drew a circle on the face of the deep. And so flat earth stuff is really getting around today with the popularity of TikTok and other YouTube, other videos, and folks saying there's this dome above this flat earth and no one can penetrate the dome, and we've never been to the moon, and the whole Antarctica stuff, an ice wall around Antarctica where other continents are on the other side of the ice wall. I'm telling you, I've never seen the flat earth theory gain as much steam as it has today. And it just has a lot of problems, especially with a worldwide flood. You could not believe in a worldwide flood and flat earth. You're going to have to say that the flood was localized because, and then on top of that, what's at the end of the earth? Do you just drop off into oblivion? What's at the end? It's flat, but has anybody been at the end? And then on top of that, what's underneath it? We just got so many problems, but it is gaining a lot of steam, especially within the last, 4 years where, COVID theologians have really gained some footage during these years.
COVID theologians. That's a good one. Did you make that one up?
That was Copeland.
Yeah, I did. I just thought about it.
That's good.
Bobby Conway, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say to Brian, wasn't Kenneth Copeland one of those COVID theologians? Inside joke.
He was. We got the video to prove it.
Heat wave. Yeah, we got the video to prove it. But sometimes it's just discouraging when I think about the things that we get twisted up about as Christians. I mean, number one, we have a satellite. And it shows us the shape of the globe. I mean, that's what we have the footage. So unless we're just going to straight out deny all the so you got to deny satellite technology as well. And so it's just really problematic. And frankly, it wouldn't matter to me one hill of beans if there wasn't any verses like he sits encircled above the throne of the earth, because I don't think the purpose of the Bible is to tell us the geometrical shape of the world that we live in. I think that's something that we can figure out with the natural sciences, and we can investigate that. And then when we see verses there, but I also know there's other people that will bring up other verses to show that it's more cubed. So I just don't think the ultimate point is the geometrical shape. I do think that we can, like the verses Tony brought up, is great. But this is problematic, and I just always get frustrated when I see the church go from one little thing to the next. There's like always these new hot topic buttons that we just jump on. And I also want to say at the end, like, what difference does it make if it's a triangle, if it's a hexagon, if it's a rectangle, I believe it's a circle because of the satellite pictures, the footage, the imagery, the way that the gravity works, what Tony's saying, you're bumping off you're going off the edge of the earth. I mean, there's all those reasons, but at the end of the day, what's the point of going around and trying to get converts from, like, I'd rather see people get converted from their old man to a new man than from a circular earth to a square. I mean, what difference does this make?
Pastor Brian.
Yeah, that's the question. What difference does it make?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think this is kind of let's just be clear that there are no reputable theologians who believe the earth is flat.
Not at all. No.
Most pastors and Bible teachers would never ever, buy into or promote such an idea. Level. This is populism for sure, and it's being advanced, like Tony said, through the internet, basically. This is the kind of stuff. This is just another conspiracy theory, right? I don't quite understand what the conspiracy is. Like you're saying, Bobby, it's like, okay, so let's just say for argument's sake, the earth is flat. Who cares? What does that do? Well, how does that change?
Right. How does that change the way we live?
I guess the only way it changes is just don't get too close to the edge in a ship because you're going to go over into something, who knows what. But
careful where you surf.
Yeah. Apart from that, I just don't know how it even has any relevance whatsoever. It's like, what's the big deal?
Tony?
Yeah, it's crazy because now they are supposedly showing footage of pilots in airplanes showing that there's no curvature of the earth, and people in ships showing that there's no curvature of the earth. But the difference in time, how you can have one time here in the United States, you can go overseas and it'll be just a few seconds off or a few minutes off, and that has to take into account the curvature of the earth. But now they're trying to prove that there's no curvature of the earth, that the earth is actually flat, and it's just nuts. It's gained some serious steam out there.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Yeah, because if the earth was flat and the sun was shining, it would just be shining on the whole.
There would be no
thing
dark
at the same time.
Be a dark place, right?
Yeah. Unless it's dark underneath. Yeah. I don't know.
It was like a wafer.
They've also said that no one has gone to Mars, and they have supposedly shown that the footage of Mars is the same footage of an area in Canada. And all they did was added that orange color to Mars. So I'm telling you, this stuff is gaining some serious momentum, and one
distraction from the evil one.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I can see the Canada theory, though. I mean, that kind of makes sense,
Yeah.
Julie, thank you for calling us with your question today on Pastor's Perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
888-564-6173 is the number to call us today. We've got Brian Broderson, Bobby Conway, and Tony Clark at your service until 4 p.m. Pacific time. 888-564-6173.
Just thinking Ed Stetzer will be on with us tomorrow. I think Ed would love the flat earth question. Maybe we should just bring it back tomorrow. Just to, do like a fake, like we got this sent in from Instagram.
Yes.
For you, Ed.
Just for you.
Yeah. You could just say, Bobby really, ascribes to the flat earth, and, he was just wondering what you thought.
Unless Ed's listening right now, which he might be. So we'll see how we can play that in tomorrow. 888-564-6173. To San Clemente we go. Here is Ray. Welcome to Pastor's Perspective, Ray.
Hello, Pastor. Thanks for taking my call. And again, even though I hear that allegedly Bobby is going with flat earth, he's still the coolest apologist.
We're glad you agree on that one.
Well, thank you.
But I just saw something on Facebook, and somebody that is so super cool is Brian Perez. How could he have the radio voice of a 25-year-old and had gray hair?
Yeah.
Yes, and be 65. I mean, it's crazy.
That's the Yeah.
Well, actually, he gets his hair frosted. He felt left out being with all these gray-haired people.
Yes.
Except Tony Clark.
Anyway, after those compliments, my question was that basically, because of work, I'm having a little problems with the schedule for Sunday church, so I joined a Bible study. But there are some warning signs that I'm really worried about. The first one pretty much is paid membership. Big warning sign.
Paid membership? Not just membership. Paid membership.
Oh. Yeah.
Wow, like an annual subscription to go to this Bible study or something.
Pretty much. Almost like going to the gym, I guess. The second thing is that basically not affiliated with any church. And the worst part is that not only that they're not affiliated to any church, but actually they talk bad about some churches. So are there those I mean, what should I do? Are those enough warning signs that I should run for my life?
No, I think we need 4 more. How about maybe 5 more? No, I think, man, wow.
Well, Ray, I think it's pretty obvious that this is not a good fit for you. Probably not a good fit for anybody, really. But yeah, I would say just find another Bible study that you don't have to pay to be in, and that's not spending their time bashing other Christians or churches or leaders, and is focusing on doing what they're doing. Maybe it's going to have to be something that's connected to a local fellowship. A lot of churches have Bible studies that are off campus that you could go to, and so I would recommend something like that for sure.
Maybe he can get his refund for the current month. Or
probably.
I don't know. Did you have to pay first and last month's deposit? I don't know. Tony Clark, what say you?
What he described, just going based upon what he described, those are cult tendencies. When they begin to not be affiliated with anyone, begin to talk about other churches and we're the only ones right. Those are tendencies of Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, and other pseudo cults that are out there. Or pseudo-Christian churches that are out there. They're not real, but they claim to be the only ones correct. And so those are the type of things you got to look out for, because those are cult tendencies.
Something that just came to mind right now, too, a lot of the radio programs that you might hear on this station, sometimes they'll have an incentive type program where, hey, if you can become one of our partners at X amount of dollars a month, you'll help support this ministry, et cetera, et cetera. That's not what we're talking about here. I mean, that's just something to help further the mission and to pay for the airtime on the radio and everything. But this is like next level. I mean, it's not even next level because it's a completely different category. Bobby Conway, what do you think?
So I would just say that the irony in this kind of setup is the thought of, you know what, we can't trust pastors, you can't trust the church, we're anti-authority. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to set up our own authority, so just listen to us. And so we're just going to read. And so they package it, and it's like people, a lot of times they get duped. They can't even see right through the lie. Like they're listening to people go, yeah, you know what, we can't trust church, we can't do this. Go, okay, but then what makes you authority to say that we can't trust this, and now we should trust you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Ray, what do you think of all this?
Oh, yeah, no, that was really helpful. I mean, I kind of knew I needed to run away. And actually, I'm in the local Southern California area, so I'll just go back to Bible studies and CCCM or Calvary Chapel, Huntington Beach, something like that.
All right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
For sure. And Calvary Costa Mesa's got home groups scattered all over. Maybe not as far as San Clemente, I don't think. But
no, but we do have a pretty broad range. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Very good. Ray, thank you for your phone call on Pastor's Perspective. 888-564-6173 is the number to call. 888-564-6173. You can also send us your questions on Facebook Messenger or Instagram, or by filling out the form on the Pastor's Perspective page of our flagship radio station's website, kwave.com. But the best way to get an answer is to call us at 888-564-6173. Also, when you call, we don't do like medical advice. We're not going to tell you to stop taking your prescription. We're not going to, we're not a legal show. We're not going to do any of that. Any advice that we might give you in those regards is just like, you really need to go talk to the pastor at your church, or maybe a counselor at focusonthefamily.com or something, but you really need to be in fellowship at a church. And if you need help finding a church, we can try to help you. Go to calvarychapel.com. There's a church finder tab that you can type in your zip code and find a church near you and get plugged in that way, because your church knows you better than we do. So don't call us trying to look for the pastors on the radio said it was okay for me to whatever. No, that's not why we're here. 888-564-6173 is the number to call. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more of your questions. Stand by. Hello, it's Brian Perez on Pastor's Perspective, and we are back for another 25 minutes or so. We'd love to chat with you at 888-564-6173. Call us up, grab an open line, 888-564-6173. Brian Broderson, Bobby Conway, and Tony Clark are here to answer your questions. Again, the number is 888-564-6173. Let's go to KC. No, not Kansas City. Casey, that's his name. He's calling from Temecula, California. How can we help you, Casey?
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing great. Thanks for calling us.
Good, thank you.
I like that you just mentioned Casey. So to give a shout out to my brother, he's a huge Kansas City fan, and he's not a bandwagoner. He's been a fan for like 35 years. So, yeah. But I also want to say to Brian Broderson, thank you as well, because I actually went to the Bible College in Marietta.
All right.
And you were really influential in my walk.
Well, great.
So
thank you
for that. And then, so I guess my question is, I recently became Orthodox.
Yep.
Eastern Orthodox at an Antiochian parish. I got baptized. I was a catechumen for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my question for you guys would be, what's your thoughts on Orthodox Christianity? And then as well as, how do you guys, and please take this in the right way because I'm not a combative person.
Yeah.
But how do you guys maintain an Orthodox tradition or an Orthodox faith? And again, so take this with kindness. So if anyone's listening, I'm not coming at Calvary Chapel. I actually love you guys, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without you guys. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. Casey, can I ask you a question? Could you kind of explain briefly, obviously we don't have a ton of time, but just kind of explain explain briefly the difference between what you see as, let's just say Calvary Chapel falls in the category of evangelical, right?
Yeah.
The broader category. So what's the distinction, and what drew you toward orthodoxy versus evangelicalism?
Great question. So just to kind of give some clarity too, I did go to seminary after I left you guys' school and, did the whole 9 yards. But one of the things that drew me to orthodoxy, I think, was just the sacramental theology, and then really the healing behind the message in the Orthodox tradition, because it really is focused on healing, like healing of the soul, healing of the mind, the body. But the distinction, I think, would be the sacraments, the sacramental life. And just, when you read through, Irenaeus and you read through the early church fathers, they seem to kind of talk about this apostolic succession.
Yeah.
And maybe not so much in like the papacy that we see in Rome, but there is this, there's this kind of understanding that they hold to, that there were these apostolic traditions that they held on to. And so I think that's what drew me to it, Brian, was more so I needed healing in my soul. And the message is really in Orthodoxy, it really is, it's about healing, at least the proclamation of what is taught. And the sacraments are there they say that they're there to bring healing, right? Because you're practicing something. It's not just in your head, it's incarnational. So I think the incarnation of it kind of led me to it. Not that I agree with everything, but yes. So, does that kind of maybe answer it?
Yeah. Because people ask me all the time about orthodoxy, can you explain it to me, or, what's the differences? And it's a little bit fuzzy, in my mind, just exactly. I mean, I know some of the things, but I wonder on this kind of a level, like you obviously are a Christian in the biblical sense. And, I think you probably know, Casey, I came out of Roman Catholicism, and there are similarities between Roman Catholicism and Orthodoxy. But of course, in 1054, you had this great, what's called the Great Schism, where these two traditions parted ways. But, like what I'm getting at is in Roman Catholicism, you have masses and masses of Roman Catholics who would not have ever really had the born-again experience, haven't come into a personal relationship with Jesus, or even understood that is available and necessary. You must be born again. So, and I think that's true largely within Orthodoxy as well. I've known many people from traditional, say, Syrian Orthodox or Greek Orthodox or whatever type of Orthodox backgrounds, who their experience was very similar to my experience in Roman Catholicism. It was a religion. There were a lot of traditions, but there was nobody ever heard about a personal relationship with Jesus. So, so you obviously have the personal relationship with Jesus thing. And now this is something, it sounds to me like it's more something in the realm of your discipleship and your growth, where this has met you in some ways where you didn't feel like you were necessarily being met through your experience just within evangelicalism. Does that sound right?
Yeah, because I would say that's right. Because I was, I actually attended seminary, attended a few different seminaries. And, I ended up in seminary, people talk about how you strengthen your faith. I was actually losing my faith. And, it was studying, the scriptures, the writings, and obviously when you're coming at it from an eclectic perspective, and I was coming from Calvary to a Reformed perspective and left the Reformed theology behind. But so in Orthodoxy, I found the incarnational understandings. Yeah. Right? Like, so just as God became man, right? Like Athanasius, which is my baptismal name.
That's a great name.
God became man so that man might become God. Yeah. Not God in a, you guys know what I'm talking about,
Sure.
not God in a, divine sense, but
Yeah.
So I think that stuff really helped me. But like I said, I'm thankful for you guys as well. So,
yeah. Well, it's that comes across very clearly, Casey. I think, Bob, you should jump in here in a second too, because of course you went through seminary and you had some of those battles yourself, when you were going through that. But I would say, I think one of the things that we would obviously see differently, Casey, is the fathers, Irenaeus or whoever you might want to refer to, Origen or then to Athanasius and the Cappadocians and these groups of men who I've actually been deep diving into all of them for quite some time now. I read a few books even last week written by Gregory Nazianzus and Gregory of Nyssa, and of course I've read Athanasius.
Cappadocian Fathers.
Yeah, I've read Athanasius a bunch, and I preached on the Trinity on Sunday, and we actually recited the Nicene Creed at the end of the service in honor of Athanasius and in honor of, what happened in 325 and 381. But I think where we would differ is in the apostolic succession kind of a thing, where we would appreciate the fathers, but not at all see them as inspired in any way similar to the apostles. So, I look back at those, ancient voices, and you're very thankful for so much of what they did. Like you said, you don't agree with everything. Some of it you think is downright, well, that's kind of crazy. But we have that with everybody. We have that with Luther. We have that with Calvin. We have that with the modern theologians that we, learn from. So I think that would be, in my opinion, that would be kind of a big distinction right there. Bobby, jump in here with your perspective.
Yeah, well, I think what you shared, it's good stuff, and I appreciate the tone and everything, Casey, that you're sharing with. I do think sometimes people just have a desire for a greater sense of transcendent. They might be overwhelmed, and they felt like, man, the church got so shallow feeling, depending upon where they were swimming and which stream. Like, for example, today, there's a church in our area, and there's this lady instructing the congregation. It's a massive church on what terms to not use. And it was a video saying, basically, at this church, we only directly teach from a passage twice a year on Easter and Christmas. So, we want to make sure that when people come, we don't use terms like resurrection, blood of Jesus. Well, I'm thinking, okay, well, that's great. So twice a year, you only go through a passage, and then those 2 times a year that you go through a passage, you're not going to even mention those words. And I think there's nothing wrong with using biblical terms as long as you explain it. And so, I think some people react to that, and I'm not saying that's the case with our caller at all, but I would say the church can go so far in trying to pander to the culture. And a lot of times I think it's people that were raised Christians. They're hypersensitive to what the non-Christian culture thinks. And I'm like, I never heard the gospel till I was 19. And, I'm thankful that when I showed up and listened to Greg Laurie, he used words like repentance and sin and judgment and the cross, and Jesus shed his blood on it. I mean, if I didn't understand it, I asked questions, but I listened to where we are today, and it's like we go to such extremes to avoid all things transcendent, all terms, all this stuff. And then I would say on the opposite end, where I would be concerned is I go, man, then there can be such a high church experience that I worry how effective they're going to be evangelistically. And so that's what I can feel as a tension where I would think, I don't think most people are going to feel comfortable bringing their non-believing friends to an experience that is so high church that they don't really think in a contextualized way as much. But then I'm also bothered at the other end of the extreme. And then I say that, Casey, going, I don't think I know what the proper if anything, I'm sure I err on the side of being too contextual, but I do lay the word out and spend, like I said, 27 weeks in 1 Corinthians. And I think sometimes churches, with the high church side of things, there's such an emphasis on the fathers and such an emphasis on philosophy, which I'm appreciative of all that, but there's not the expositional emphasis. Mm-hmm. So I think ultimately what we owe the flock is exposition, not it's more than the creeds, mm-hmm. More than some of that stuff. And that's where I think, because you can find creeds that aren't, that are, like, for example, the Athanasian Creed is really problematic. I like Nicene Creed. I like the Chalcedonian Creed. You come to the Athanasian Creed. Well, what's problematic about that? Well, it's a beautiful instrument for understanding the doctrine of the Trinity, but it's terrible in its indictment at the very beginning that let you be anathema if you don't come to grips with this. And I'm like, how many people have died just because they believed in Jesus, but they never even had the opportunity to hear about such a creed in the way that these words were? So in a sense, the creed condemns people that are saved. And so I think we have to be able to evaluate that and go, okay, I would have been much better with that creed if it didn't open up with "you're all, anathema," if you don't buy into
that. That is a bit
because
of a harsh...
now it's like, oh, you're saved. Yeah, you're saved, but you're saved by faith in Jesus. Oh, wait, but by believing in this creed.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
Yeah, it is a bit of a harsh introduction. I read it the other day because I was thinking about, like I said, we recited the Nicene Creed, and I was looking at the Athanasian. I thought, no, we will not recite the Athanasian Creed. It's not the one that we want to start. Yeah. Well, remember, Athanasius was Athanasius against the world. I mean, this guy was in a fight with everybody in those days. But I think too that, and I think like you're saying, Bobby, and I've had this conversation with my own son and a lot of the younger guys that I spend time with that grew up in the Calvary movement, where in Calvary Chapel, we have stripped everything so far back. It's like, there's just there's no sense whatsoever of history almost involved in anything that we do, in our efforts to just get back and be biblical. But what I've said to him is, the creeds are beautiful if they're in the context of knowing Christ personally and the Spirit. If not, they're just words. They're just, words on paper. And I grew up reciting the creeds, and they didn't do anything for me because I wasn't born of the Spirit. And that's so, and like you're saying, Bobby, that's really, that can get so easily lost. Where is the moment where you actually engage with Jesus as a sinner and you meet him and you come into the relationship with him? Without that, all of that other stuff is just, it's just information, basically.
Casey, thank you for your phone call today on Pastor's Perspective. 888-564-6173. To Cerritos we go. Here's John. Welcome to Pastor's Perspective, John.
Hey, guys. My question was, does Satan need to get permission to attack Christians or even non-Christians as far as that's concerned? And I'm sort of basing it on Job when he asked God to remove the hedge around him, and
Yeah, Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he has to get permission. He can go to and fro throughout the earth, seeking whom he may devour, like 1 Peter 5:8 says, but he just can't willy-nilly just attack Christians. Why? Because Psalm 34:7 says the angels of God encamp around about those who fear him. Also in Hebrews 1:14, it says that their ministering spirits, speaking of the angels, sent forth to minister to those who will inherit eternal life. And then Mark 5:13, the demons asked the Lord, could they go into the pigs? And then it says in Mark 5:13, and he gave them permission to go into the pigs. And so he has to get permission. He just can't willy-nilly just do whatever he wants to do to believers. Now, to those who are not believers, he may have free reign, but as of believers, no, he has to get that permission.
And when he asks for permission, does he approach him in the same way that we approach God through prayer? I mean, how does that work, the whole permission thing? Or does he have immediate access to him? What would you say, Tony?
Well, I think that Job chapter 1 as well as 1 Kings 22 shows us that he has access to the throne of God until the Lord permanently boots him out, because the Lord asked him, hey, Satan, where have you been? He said, I've just been cruising throughout the earth. And it says that when the sons of God appeared before the throne, Satan appeared too. So, and the Bible says he's the accuser of the brethren who accuses us before God day and night, Revelation 12:10 says. So in order for him to accuse us before God, he has to be up there doing this thing. So accusing us before the Lord. So he has to get permission by God, and God allows certain access to us for a particular purpose. Not oppression, for the purpose of oppression and not possession.
John, thank you for your phone call today on Pastor's Perspective. 888-564-6173. Here's Andrea calling from Rancho Cucamonga. Hello, Andrea.
Hi.
Hello. How can we help you today?
So my question is in regards to marriage. My current situation is my husband has cheated on me multiple times. And this last time, it was for a 3-month affair. So I would like to know, as a married woman, when is it... Sorry, that's my children. When is it time to, actually, divorce and walk away, in God's eyes? When is that okay?
Bobby, what would you suggest to Andrea?
Yeah, this is heavy stuff right here, and I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Biblically speaking, Jesus says that there's, room for divorce in the event that there's adultery. He recognizes that it's so catastrophic that, some people just don't really recover well from it. So I would say on one side, I commend you for trying to keep this marriage together after an affair. But I mean, if this is a serial adulterer and, I just think this is a really bad situation. I don't ever tell anybody to just go get a divorce, but I don't know how you're staying in it. There's a sense where there's something that his lusts are stronger than his guilt, and his lusts are stronger than his commitment to you, and his lusts are causing lots of problems. And so I feel like when you're dealing with a lust issue this deep, that that it can't get brought under submission through guilt and conviction of the Holy Spirit, because I'm sure he's apologized every time. At the end of the day, the apologies might happen, but there's not this deeper thing that he needs, and that's a love for God, a love for you as his wife, to crush the lust. Because until that happens, he's going to be driven by that. And my fear is that when you're dealing with a serial adulterer, you're young, I can hear the kids in the background, you spend your life while, trying to be faithful to a guy that's out having all these affairs, getting off, and you turn next to him when your kids are raised, and there you are 60 years old, and go, man, I just invested 40 years in this person that just cheated on me, wasn't there for me, and what do I have to show for it? So on that side, I'd just go, man, this is really painful. And I never would fault anybody that would just cut their losses at that point, knowing that this is going to be hard, but it'd be harder sometimes just to stay. So, it's a choice you're going to have to make.
Yeah. Now, in Andrea's case, they obviously have children, so that probably doesn't make the decision easier. I mean, I don't know. Tony, what would you say?
Yeah. This is a tough one, and all because Jesus said in Matthew 5 and Matthew 19 that for adultery, a person can get a divorce, but there's always forgiveness. But here's the key. The key is that he talks about the adultery if there's the hardness of the heart, meaning that the person is committing adultery and they just don't care. They're just going to continue to commit adultery. Then because of the hardness of their heart, they can get a divorce because it's obvious that the other person doesn't want to stop.
Pastor Brian, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, just, Andrea, again, this is very difficult, and we're sorry that this is the situation you find yourselves in. I think just the simplest way to state it is you have complete biblical permission to, if you decide that you're done with this marriage, God is not going to condemn you in any way. He's not going to judge you. He's just going to, basically set you free to move on to into your life with him. So he's not calling you to remain in a situation like this.
Bobby Conway?
Yeah, and I would say as well, Andrea, that if it's happening multiple times, I don't know what your personality is like. There are some women that are really tough. And a little bit of wife intimidation is not a bad thing, right? And then there's other women that they can just get walked all over, and then that, and a lot of that can just be rooted in just their sweet spirits, their golden retriever personality. And if you have one of those golden retriever, sweet type of forgiving personalities, which is lovely, but it can be taken advantage of, and we have all seen people that are just sweethearts taken advantage of. Whatever you decide, there needs to be some strong boundaries. You can't, we teach people how to treat us, and you are his bride, you are the wife, and there has to be some change here. But I would like to see you be able to have a fresh start as well, because I just can't imagine what this would be like. But again, that's your choice, but you're not doing anything biblically wrong if you decide to leave. But if you're being manipulated each of these times and everything, you're going to have the right support system of what this looks like to have an exit strategy as well, because I just don't know where this person's at. So some counseling would be really helpful right now.
Andrea, thanks for calling us today on Pastor's Perspective. We've run out of time, so not going to take another phone call. We will be back tomorrow between 3 and 4 p.m. Pacific time, so call us then, especially if we didn't get to your call today. We would love to hear from you tomorrow. We archive all of our episodes on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify, so if you missed any portion or just want to hear it again, head on over to Facebook, YouTube, or Spotify and check it out. And subscribe to our channels as well. That way you can get notified every time new content is available. God bless you guys. Thank you for listening and for watching. For Brian Broderson, Bobby Conway, and Tony Clark, I'm Brian Perez. And Pastor's Perspective was sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa.